Hello, and welcome to my video for the Oscar predictions, 91st Annual Academy Award predictions for the month of July. And these are a couple of days late. I apologize. I've been feeling awfully unproductive these past few days. But one of the reasons it took me so long was because I decided to change it up a bit. My Oscar prediction videos have been some of my more popular videos on the channel, so I decided to sort of go a little bit more elaborate in them. And then I'm actually going to show graphics with pictures. So let's just show you what I mean. Let me go to the first category, which is Best Documentary. So I'm doing the category of documentary now. I debated doing the foreign language film category, but I don't know too much about those movies. So this is just the way that I am displaying it with these graphics, these visuals. They're not the most complicated graphics out there, but I think they're enough just to get my feelings across. And you can see them being updated over the next few months as I update my Oscar predictions. So, again, I debated doing foreign film too, but I don't know a lot about the foreign films this year. Whereas documentaries, there are a lot of interesting documentaries this year, and I've seen one of them, Won't You Be My Neighbor? I believe that was the first time I've ever seen a documentary in the theater. So, that was a very powerful documentary, very emotional documentary, and I currently have it predicted to win, but a lot of these other documentaries do look interesting. The Oslo Diaries feels like it might be very timely. Fahrenheit 11/9 is Michael Moore, and he can be hit or miss, but he's making something that's very politically motivated, and I did like his speech on Stephen Colbert where he talked about the film. Whitney, Can I Be Me? My mom actually knows one of the producers for that film, so that's a thing. That's pretty much why I have it so high, too, because I am somewhat biased towards it, because my mom knows a producer. Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say. These are my predictions for documentary, and I might go a little bit fast on these, because I think a lot of these graphics sort of speak for themselves. So if you really want to look at these graphics, you can just pause the video. With that being said, let's move on to our next category, Best Animated Feature. So these you'll see I wrote down up just to let you know like where they went in my predictions. So here's what I have to say about animated feature. I think I'm really torn. I have not seen Isle of Dogs yet. And that could potentially be a winner. I have not seen Early Man, and that feels very much like a nominee simply because they love Aardman. They nominated them for Pirates. I feel that they'll nominate him for anything, especially if the year is weak. I also feel that there's probably going to be a foreign language nominee. I just have no idea which movie they're going to go with. There are a lot of foreign language choices. As for Incredibles 2, I don't know if they're going to give it to Pixar, because I feel that recently, once they've noticed that Pixar can be hit or miss, they try not to give it to Pixar unless it's undeniable. With Inside Out and Coco, like 2013, 14, the past 5 years, there's been a lot of Pixar movies, and Brave was the only time they really messed up. Every other time that they give it to Pixar, it's an undeniable, you can't really argue with it win. Incredibles 2, I think, would definitely make a worthy winner, but coming right off of Coco, I feel it might seem weird and people might be genuinely getting upset that Pixar wins every time. So look out for Isle of Dogs. But then again, I don't really see that many people talking about Isle of Dogs anymore. I'm wondering if that film sort of just came and went. Plus, there's even the possibility that Incredibles 2 might not even get nominated, because we know that a lot of times they don't like to nominate Pixar when it's fairly obvious that Pixar is not going to win. Like, ever since Brave, if they know a Pixar movie's not going to win, they don't nominate. You see this with Finding Dory, Cars 3, Good Dinosaur, etc. So, yeah, that's my predictions for animated feature, and you can see I moved one. Also, I'm predicting Spider-Man to be nominated. It's a really, really risky prediction. but I'm going to stick to it because it looks really interesting. I think it's going to get a lot of attention. I think it could barely... This seems to be the year that superhero films are more embraced in the Academy, as evidenced by the insane number of nominations I have Black Panther predicted for. But let's move on a bit. Best sound mixing. Now, the 5 I kept the same. First Man, A Star is Born, Operation Finale, Black Panther, A Quiet Place. Those all feel like they could get nominated. And I don't really know about the rest. I feel like they could go flashy. Incredibles 2, I debated that one. And the thing is, no animated film has been nominated in the sound categories since Toy Story 3. But then again, Incredibles 2 not only was nominated for sound mixing, but won sound editing. It's the only animated film to win sound editing unless you count Roger Rabbit. I feel fairly confident with these. I think First Man is going to be a big taker in a lot of the tech categories. And Black Panther, I don't know exactly what the limit is. It probably is not going to get as many nominations as I have it predicted for. I have it in pretty much every category. But I feel in the tech categories, at least, it's a sure bet. Moving on a bit, sound editing. A lot of these are very close, very similar. Infinity War, I think, is definitely going to get nominated here, and I'm interested to see what Solo, A Star Wars Story, does. That movie was not well received, and it did not do well at the box office, at least for a Star Wars movie. And I'm wondering if Incredibles 2 can get nominated here. I'm wondering how well A Quiet Place can do in either of the sound categories. And Ready Player One or Annihilation, I wonder if people will even remember those movies as time goes on. And The Man Who Killed Don Quixote is very much a wild card. We don't know if that's even going to be good or not, but the trailer looked interesting. I'm curious to see what happens with that one. Moving on to Best Original Song, we really don't know too much about this category because we haven't heard a lot of the songs yet. It seems crazy that I would be predicting 2 superhero movies to get in, both Pray For Me from Black Panther and Ashes from Deadpool 2. But I feel I gotta have them in because they're popular. Black Panther is a super big movie, and Ashes, I think that's a song that people are making a connection with, at least. And I think the logical thing to say is that either A Star is Born or Mary Poppins Returns will get on for multiple songs. I didn't want to officially predict that because I don't know any of the song titles, but I feel more than likely one or both of the films will have multiple songs in contention. Then again, they could do the Greatest Showman technique and only submit one song to be eligible, even though they have multiple songs to be considered. I don't know, we'll see what happens. Our next category is Best Original Score, and this one we seem to have down. It's interesting because a lot of different composers, I'm so sorry I'm at a loss for words today, but a lot of composers have multiple scores in a given year, and sometimes with a beloved composer like Thomas Newman or Alexandre Desplat. Desplat in particular has a lot of scores this year. It can be tricky to know which scores are they going to be singled out for. So I believe Operation Finale is a Desplat score. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it is. And some people point to Isle of Dogs, saying that is the more likely nomination for Desplat. So I hope I'm pronouncing his name right too. Desplat. Yes, it is. So I don't really know what could get nominated. Welcome to Marwen does have the Alan Silvestri score, but Alan Silvestri only has like 2 nominations, even though he's a great composer and a legendary composer. So we'll see what happens with that one. I feel fairly confident in the nominations that I have, although we will see how well Black Panther does in the overall tag categories. I'm very optimistic about it at the moment, because I've learned my lesson, and that is when a movie comes out early and everyone proclaims it as an Oscar winner, it usually is. With Mad Max and with Get Out, I doubted both of those movies a lot. And I think with Black Panther, I'm going to be open because everyone's saying it can be an Oscar movie, so I'm going to treat it like it's going to be an Oscar movie. Our next category is Best Visual Effects, and yes, I have the First Man image where it says Mary Queen of Scots. I'm referring to First Man. I don't actually think Mary Queen of Scots is going to be a Best Visual Effects nominee. I'm talking about First Man, the space movie. I am guaranteed to make at least one mistake in every one of these videos. In fact, there was an earlier mistake that I had to rush and edit out, and it is so, I will try. It is so hard. I spent literally the entire day working on these graphics, and there are so many things that need to be changed and updated, so I'm using the same template too for each one, which is probably a bad idea. So, sorry about that, just calling attention to that mistake, totally owning up to it, and hoping it doesn't happen again next time. But, so, I really don't know what's going to happen in effects this year, because there are always so many big special effects movies in a given year, and you never know which ones the Academy is going to gravitate towards. But I think we could definitely, this is going to be the first time a Marvel Cinematic Universe film wins an Oscar. I think for either Infinity War or Black Panther. Even though you can debate the special effects in those movies, I think you sort of have to give a shout out to it. I think Marvel's earned it at this point. Marvel's earned an Oscar. If the DCEU can have an Oscar because of Suicide Squad, then at this point you can just give Marvel an Oscar for something. And visual effects seems like the best place to do it in. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Moving on to the next category, Best Makeup. I don't think I really changed anything except I switched places with Mary Queen of Scots in backseat. The trailer for Mary Queen of Scots makes it look like it's going to be a very makeup and hairstyling type film, with emphasis on the hairstyling possibly, because now that word is a part of it, and hairstyles need to be considered too. But definitely consider, I really like the top three. I think Backseat, Black Panther, Mary Queen of Scots all feel like likely nominees for this category. But I think predicting Best Makeup at all before the Bake Off announcement is kind of ridiculous in and of itself, because the Bake Off always shakes the entire category up. So there's no real way to predict this category just yet. Moving on, Best Costume Design. So I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm very confident about the two Marys. Mary Poppins Returns, Mary Queen of Scots. They're both getting nominated. I have no doubt whatsoever about that. At least there is a slight possibility that Mary Queen of Scots turns out to be a bad movie and it doesn't get in. Even if the film's quality is poor, I think people will recognize the costume design. But there's a very, very small possibility that Mary Queen of Scots does not get in. Mary Poppins Returns is guaranteed a nomination. It's just guaranteed a nomination. This is the kind of movie that gets costume design nomination. It's done. It's just 100% done. And you can't even try to deny it. It's going to happen. Beyond that, a lot of it is just guesswork. I'm predicting The Man Who Killed Don Quixote will get nominated here. It might. I'm wondering what's going to happen with The Nutcracker in the Four Realms. I feel that might be a Disney flop, as it were. Boy, that's an oxymoron. But I don't know. I think Morgan Freeman was sort of caught up in something, and people might not like the film because of that now. Also, is it just me, or Mackenzie Foy? When I see the trailer for Nutcracker in the Four Realms and I see Mackenzie Foy, I'm like, just shoot the Last of Us movie right now, because that's the actress. She's in the perfect age range. She's Ellie. Just pull up a movie, get a Joel, get everything. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I really want there to be good video game movies, and Hollywood refuses to make them. Okay, I think that's about all I can say about that one. Moving on to Best Production Design. Wait, is that... Yeah, Best Production Design. So, Mary Poppins Returns is definitely getting nominated because they recreated the iconic sets from the classic 1964 movie. Beyond that, I think the rest of the nominations are self-explanatory. I will say, no one else really mentioned Hereditary, and I think it might be more of a possibility than people give it credit for. I have yet to see the film, but I mean, just looking at the poster tells me they're waiting for a wild ride. People have said the production design is good with the house and everything. I and I'll talk about this more in the next category. But Hereditary is a movie that everyone's like, oh, you should see it. It's totally disturbing and it'll give you nightmares for weeks, but you should see it. And I'm like, I'm a little hesitant about that. So, moving on to Best Cinematography. Okay, not much to say. Ad Astra is out of the top 5. Hoytma Hoytma. I'm interested to see. I think A Star Is Born could do some serious work in this category. That movie really looks like it's going to be a big Oscar contender in multiple ways. And I included Hereditary here at number 10. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, I'm just going to move through these. You can pause it. You can look at the charts. It's self-explanatory. So, on to Best Film Editing, which, ironically, I have the exact same top 5, which probably is not going to happen, but I just feel confident in this top 5 for both categories. It feels... I think it fits. It does fit. And by the way, the Operation Finale trailer, I watched that trailer and it looks super Oscar baity. And people agree with me that it seems Oscar baity, but people don't think it's going to be good or it's going to be embraced by the Oscars. I think the Oscars are going to like it. I think the Oscars are going to embrace this movie. Because why wouldn't they? It's Holocaust and it has some good people behind it. So if the movie turns out to be good, watch out. I was the first person to call this. If the movie turns out to be bad, you can all say, haha, I told you so. But every year, I think I'm sort of allowed to have this one contender that I push that no one else is pushing. And this year, it's Operation Finale. On to the next category, which is Best Adapted Screenplay. Now, it's interesting. Last year, original screenplay was super, super crowded, and adapted screenplay had barely any contenders in it. And this year, it's the exact opposite. This year, adapted screenplay is the one that's ridiculously overcrowded, and original screenplay has barely anything in it. I think it's possible that any of the films in this top 10 could get nominated for screenplay. I feel there's a case to be made for each and every film on this list. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. I like the top 5 that I have. I think Widows is a strong contender. I think A Star Is Born. I debated with that one because it's a remake, but I feel that it's going to be a beloved enough film that's going to make it in the end. And Beautiful Boy, I think, definitely watch out for that one. I'm starting to really look at that more as a serious Oscar contending movie. The trailer was interesting and it looked like a classic Oscar movie. It looked like the kind of movie that gets a ton of nominations, so watch out for Beautiful Boy. On to original screenplay. So original screenplay is not as crowded, and I was sort of grasping at straws with 6 through 10 here, even with number 5. Like, I can buy Backseat, 8th Grade, Operation Finale, Peterloo. I can buy all of those getting nominated. Under the Silver Lake, I heard that got bad reviews, but you never know. A lot of times I hear the films that get bad reviews sometimes can come back or films that get good reviews at one point later get panned. Sometimes there are anomalies, like Downsizing got great reviews when it first started out, and then we all saw that and realized it was not a good movie. What else was that? The movie with the Birth of a Nation, that got great reviews, and then we found out we found out that the director of the movie had done bad things. I'm getting off topic. I don't know, I'm gonna hold out just a little bit of hope for Under the Silver Lake, but not too much. You'll notice it's very downgraded in a lot of my predictions. And I don't really know what beyond that. I think 8th Grade can definitely contend, but I just don't know about this category. This category feels weak to me. So let's move on to the acting categories. Now, I think in virtually all of the acting categories, I really, really like the top 5. Amy Adams is going to make a bid for an Oscar. I think we've all accepted this at this point. Although it does feel weird that she's going to win in supporting. But she's also going to win a lead Emmy next year, the year that Sharp Objects is eligible. I imagine she's going to win an Emmy for that. Hopefully, if people haven't forgotten about that miniseries. I watched the first episode. It's intriguing. I think Amy Adams is definitely in contention to win, and we've been saying this all along. We've been pushing her. Margot Robbie, Claire Foy, and Jennifer L., and Regina King to an extent, they're all contending for the nomination. It's pretty much just who gets to be nominated with Amy Adams at this point. And Margot Robbie did look good in the trailer, which is why I put her number 2. Claire Foy is the supporting wife role in what's going to be the big Oscar movie of the year. And Jennifer L. So I saw the trailer for The Miseducation of Cameron Post, and I was surprised by the direction that the trailer took. It plays this setup that seems like such a horrifying thing and plays it more for comedy. And that's just from watching the trailer. I don't know how the actual movie plays it with the tone, but I think it's interesting that they try to sort of not take the situation lightly, because this is a very serious situation, but have Chloe Grace Moretz's character genuinely bond with the other characters and have there be some sort of a friendship. But I don't want the movie to ever imply that this camp is a good thing. I don't want the movie to ever imply that gay conversion therapy is good, because it's definitely not good. It's horrifying, and it should not exist. It'll be interesting to see how that works, and I've heard good things about Jennifer L's performance, so I'm holding out for that to be good. And beyond that, I really don't know. I'm pushing for Millicent Simmons, man. I don't know if anyone else is talking about that performance, but I am pushing, because she was so good, and she deserves to get more work. She was great in Wonderstruck, great in A Quiet Place, and people need to write roles for her. People need to write roles with her in mind, because she is an amazing actress, and so what if she can't hear? She can act. And that's more than what a lot of people who can hear can do. So, moving right along, Best Supporting Actor. I think Timothée Chalamet is in contention to win an Academy Award, and he's like 23. He's like 1 or 2 years older than me, and he's in contention to win an Academy Award. That makes me a little bit jealous, but he's also gorgeous. But I'm straight. Just a man can point out when another man is gorgeous. So, yeah. This is an interesting category. I think Sam Rockwell and Ben Kingsley can very easily contend. Ben Kingsley could potentially walk away with this whole thing if he's that good in the movie. Or maybe he'll go lead. The trailer sort of left that open for debate. Sam Elliott is supposed to have a very good role in A Star is Born, and that looks to be a big Oscar player. Daniel Kaluuya looked very impressive in the trailer for Widows. BlacKkKlansman has 2 men it can be pushing, Adam Driver and Topher Grace, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm really curious about Michael B. Jordan, because he gave the best performance in a movie that is critically lauded and is probably going to get a bunch of nominations. So we'll see how exactly that all plays out. I think it'd be great if he did get nominated, but it's going to be tough for him. It's going to be really tough. Also, I'll quickly mention Broden is a movie with Forrest Whitaker, and there's a young man who it's also, we have 2 Klan-based movies this year. A young man leaves the Klan and is taken under the wing of Forrest Whitaker, and that seems like a great premise and a great role for Forrest Whitaker. So if he could pull that role off, it might be an Oscar-worthy performance. We'll see what happens. Okay, not that many categories left to go. Let's take a look at Best Actress, which is super, super crowded. I had to move Toni Collette down a bit. Everyone says she's amazing. I believe you. I have not seen the film, but my God, this year is really, really crowded with lead actress. And Saoirse Ronan, people were saying this could be her year, but Lady Gaga is gonna contend. Kiki Lane is a newcomer. Her role sounds incredible on paper, and the movie's a big deal. Viola Davis also always impresses, and the movie looks like it's going to be good. Glenn Close is making a bid to get an Oscar. Will she even get nominated? Melissa McCarthy is doing drama. Elsie Fisher is in this year's Lady Bird. And Chloe Moretz is in a big movie. Like, there's a lot of contenders. And there are plenty of contenders beyond the top 10 that I could have put here. But I think it's... Well, let's see how this year shakes out, because I think any of these women could be nominated. And I even think that any of these women could win. We'll have to see how the year shakes out. But I don't know. So let's go to lead actor for a second so I can talk about my top 4 for acting. Because I have Ryan Gosling. And honestly, I don't even know if I think Ryan Gosling's going to win. I just think he's the most likely to be nominated. A lot of people are saying Steve Carell could win this. And that would mean that our acting lineup is Steve Carell, Saoirse Ronan, Timothée Chalamet, and Amy Adams. And that's a pretty impressive lineup. When you imagine, like, the 4 actors holding their Oscars, because there's always that big photo going up at the end of the ceremony. That could be impressive. It could also be impressive if Ryan Gosling gets it. I think it's a little bit hard to judge this. And I'm keeping an eye on Roy Kinnear because that's the new Mike Leigh movie. And Mike Leigh sometimes... the Oscars seem to like him, even though I don't. I've never been a big fan of his movies. I don't know. It just... we will see what happens. I'm curious to see what John David Washington can do. And I just realized I spelled his name wrong. I'm gonna move along. I saw a great tweet that was like, you know you're a writer when your ability to spell check multiplies by 5,000% after you hit send. That's what being a writer is. You can go over this stuff for days, being like, I've checked it all, there's no typos. And then you hit send, and I was like, oh my god, the typos are everywhere. At Eternity's Gare. Willem Dafoe at Eternity's Gare. Oh my god, this is proving my point. It's At Eternity's Gate. The movie is At Eternity's Gate. I'm not as stupid as I look. I'm just overworked. I need to take a break. I keep making typos. Robert Redford, The Old Man and the Gun. Maybe they'll give him like a sympathy nomination. He only has 1 nomination for acting, which is crazy because he's Robert Redford. But okay, so that's lead actor. Let's just move on to the final 2 categories so that I can get this video up and go to bed. Yeah, that's the attitude I should have. Best director. Can we just stop for a moment and appreciate that there are 4 black men in this image, and they all have a legitimately good chance of getting on, at least at this moment in time. I'm sure that 1 or 2 of them could fall off depending on what happens to the movies, but I think at least one of these men, Barry Jenkins, Ryan Coogler, Steve McQueen, and Spike Lee, at least one of them is going to stick around to the end. And that's to say nothing of Desiree Akhavan, who, she's a female director, and we need more female directors nominated. I almost had her in the top 5, I didn't put her there in the end. Maybe a spot gets open and she can move in there. What's interesting about Best Director and Best Picture to an extent is that it's Damien Chazelle versus Barry Jenkins. It's essentially a rematch. Like, both of these directors, like, after that whole Best Picture mess up, they rushed to get their next movies made super fast, and then they went back. And secretly, I'm hoping that First Man wins Picture, and If Beale Street Could Talk wins Director. So then they both get what they want, and everything's even. I have Chazelle in number 1 because a lot of this is just who I feel is more likely to be nominated, not so much who I feel about winning. I'll worry about who's going to win later. And some of these I do have my predicted winner, but a lot of this is just who do I think has the best chance of being nominated, and right now it's Damien Chazelle. But Bradley Cooper, we'll see what happens with A Star is Born. There are a lot of actors turned directors that are making movies. I'm sorry, I just got lost in thought by something. I'm just gonna move on. these look like good movies. We haven't seen any of them yet. We've seen Black Panther. We haven't seen any of the rest. Hopefully these are all good, and hopefully the best director lineup gets more and more diverse as the years go on. I mean, we've already made some serious improvements in the last couple of years. And the final category is Best Picture, and for this one I included 15 films. I'm only counting the top 10 as my official predicted nominees, but again, they have this really complicated system where it's like the top 7, top 8, top 9. It's complicated. I don't know. I think 8th Grade could contend. I think Peterloo could contend. I think A Star is Born is a serious contender, at least in terms of nominations. First Man and If Beale Street Could Talk, those are the top 2. And then everything in the top 10 I think has a serious chance as I see it right now. And then Mary Queen of Scots just barely missed it. It's really tricky. Under the Silver Lake is still in there, but it's down. And I don't know what's going to happen with Black Panther, because they have it predicted for so many nominations. But I don't have it anywhere near the top of the list. I don't think Black Panther can win Best Picture. I think it's going to get a bunch of tech nominations. I think that's very possible. And I think the true test will be whether or not the film can get a Best Supporting Actor nomination for Michael B. Jordan. And even then, that doesn't truly mean success, because we saw with Grand Budapest Hotel, that movie got a bunch of nominations, but somehow Ralph Fiennes was not nominated. So I think, I really don't know. We'll see what happens. I think it would be great to have Black Panther nominated. Even though I think I might have liked Infinity War a little bit more as a movie, I think it'll be great to finally have a superhero movie nominated for Best Picture. And so let me know what you guys think. I know that my Oscar prediction articles, my Oscar prediction videos are my most popular videos on YouTube. So let me know what you think of this new format, of these new charts. Let me know what you think of my predictions. If you agree or disagree with everything, let me know. And these all change on a monthly basis. So it's funny, I always get comments on an Oscar prediction video a month later, right when I'm about to change it, and I'm like, I don't agree with this, and I'm like, well, maybe wait until the next one. So, yeah, these all change. Like, you know that saying in Chicago, oh, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. That's what it is. If you don't like these Oscar predictions, wait 1 month, and I'll come up with new ones. That's not as catchy. Okay, I'm just gonna stop recording, edit the video, post it, and go to bed. Bye.